What are you drinking over there?
A little bit of yesterday's Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar plus whatever and some tequila. That's
okay.
That's what we're doing right now.
I'm not gonna hate on that. That's not a bad combo.
It was sitting in the fridge, and I'm like, I'll just add tequila to this, and we'll start going.
Hey everybody, welcome to Pursuing Pixels. My name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with John Hines.
Hey there.
And Randall Nolery.
Hey folks.
And we are back as always to talk about some video games. I was just saying before we started, recording the episode here proper, but we went from probably our longest gap that we've ever had between recording sessions to now doing a couple back to back. So I don't know about you guys. I haven't had a ton of time to get some gaming in over this last week or so, to be honest. I've been squeezing in some short sessions here with some retro and some pseudo retro stuff. But what about you guys?
Well, we'll get into it.
Yeah, I haven't been doing too bad lately in the last week or two, thankfully. So I don't know what that says or not, but yeah, it's been pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, I feel like I've just been easing back into it after getting back from I got back from Chicago and then had another wedding the following weekend. So I just feel like I've been running on fumes. Mm-hmm. So just squeezing it, the retro stuff has been the perfect fix, or playing a little UFO 50 here and there. But before we get to some of the stuff that I've been playing, Randall, you've been playing the newest thing out of all of us here. So why don't we kick it over to you here to get us started off.
My video game's not even out yet as of the time I'm talking about it. Wowie zowie. It's Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, the newest Sonic Racing game. I think the first Sonic Racing game we've got since that well, nope, never mind. There's that Team Sonic.
I was going to say, I think there was,
never mind.
Team Sonic.
Take that all back. So, that Sonic All-Star Racing sure was good, though.
Transformed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it has some of the same DNA from that game, although it's mightily evolved, I would say, this Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. Just made the decision to buy it kind of like a pre-order purchase, and then you have access whatever handful of days early, and you get these other MacGuffins or whatever. But I'm playing it on Xbox Series X. It runs great. And, we've kind of talked before about how we like the new Mario Kart, but it's still it's not blowing us away or anything. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of in the mood even more for something like this to fill that gap, I guess. And I don't think I'm the only one. And Sonic and Sega, they kind of nailed it here. I like this game. Granted, I've only booted it 2 or 3 times over the last literal few nights that I've had access to it. I think it came available on end of night on the 21st of September sort of thing. So barely had time with this game, just a few days. There's a lot here though, 24 characters. They're going to add a bunch more. The racing itself, kind of like Transform did, is not just kart racing on, pavement or ground or whatever. It's also water and air, a la Diddy Kong Racing sort of thing too.
Yeah.
And I love how they intermix that together and how that feels. It just, all the different racing modes feel really fluid that way. And I love, for instance, some of the things they've kind of taken from other games, like Mario Kart games that have come since, drafting behind feels really good. You're behind another racer and you just pick up that speed boost for a second and you can pass them that way. It feels really good. Drifting is freaking incredible, I think, actually, in this game. The way that they do drifting in Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. So you'll start your drift and then there'll be this circle meter and you can fill it up to 3 times, kind of like the Mario Kart games as they are now, but it's a little bit harder to fill up that gauge, I would say. And it just like the feel, like the racing feel of filling up this gauge, and how you can almost do kind of a snake drift, almost like Mario Kart DS, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Feels very good to get that extra boost, and how you kind of have to time it, especially if you're going at too fast of a speed around some of these turns. It can be a little bit easier said than done, of like the aggressiveness to get all the way to that third drift boost. But even how they apply that to, say, you're in the water section and you're doing a drift, and you've got like at least one of those like 3 drift circles filled. Not only do you get the speed boost from the drift successfully, but it also jumps you in the air, kind of like the feather ability in Mario Kart does. So then sometimes there's items or rings, which in this game, rings are what increase your maximum speed. You can get up to 100 of them.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. And sometimes there'll be like a 5-ring pack or a 10-ring pack that you can get at one point. So it's not all like single that way. Right. Or some of the, like the items you can get from the, random item blocks can give you rings as well. So, there's ways of getting those. But say in the water section, you filled up your drift, you see that there's like 5 or 10 ring above, or like another item box, but it's above the water surface. Like you can't just run into it. You have to time your jump to grab it that way with this drift mechanic. And it feels so good. Like there's just this like subtle arcadey complexity of gameplay in there that I really appreciate. The characters feel different enough too, which is something I appreciate. Seems like they're going to add a whole bunch of silly characters from different Sega properties, and then like other IP. It seems like there's going to be Pac-Man stuff and SpongeBob stuff and all kinds of random things. Lots of courses coming out in whatever season pass thing that I got with this special edition version of the game. But yeah.
What about Danica Patrick? Any Danica Patrick or Wreck-It Ralph?
That would be kind of hilariously amazing if that ends.
That'd be awesome if they just kept carrying that torch over from Transformed. But that's really awesome to hear you specifically talking about that drift mechanic. Number one, it sounds cool, like that there's like an actual gauge that you can see filling up, as opposed to just being like the visual cue of like the color of the sparks or whatever changing.
Yes.
But I lost my train of thought again in the middle of the other thought I was gonna, or the other point I was gonna make.
Had to make your Danica Patrick
about the drifting. Oh, I know. Yeah, well, no, but it was back to Sonic All-Stars Racing Transform, whatever that game's called.
Yes.
Like, I love that game. We've talked about it a few times on the podcast, and I think I might have even touched on it when I re-picked it up for the Wii U, and like I did pop it back in and play a few, and I was like, it's fun. But I was like, it doesn't feel quite as good as I remember it, because I remember thinking, like, this is better than Mario Kart, hands down, no way. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, Mario Kart 8 is probably definitely better than this.
Sure.
After going back to it. But to picture, like, them making, though, a few strides in a few subsequent games and, like, polishing things up a little bit, like, I'm really curious to try this out. It sounds awesome.
I'm big time into it, and that didn't even get into like there's like there is in the modern Mario Kart games. You can customize your racing equipment. You can choose different carts or whatever that have different attributes to go alongside. If you chose a power character that might be like heavier and able to kind of like bonk other characters out of the way versus an accelerating specialty character or whatever it might be. But there's these gadgets that you can also add that you can unlock that give you kind of passive abilities in the races. Like an example that comes to mind is, instead of just having a cap of 100 rings that you can collect in a 3-lap race, you can get 130 with one of these like passive gadgets that you add to your racing loadouts, which you can have like 5 different customized loadouts, I guess, for different carts for different purposes. Which is super cool. Even though it gets this kind of like ridiculous layer of complexity that might even like bleed a little bit into, is it so pick up and play if you want to get the most out of it. But it didn't take that long to acclimate to that stuff. And now it at least gives that extra meta layer of I want to play more races or time trials or whatever that's counting towards unlocking more stuff and increasing my experience levels, that sort of thing, which is fun too. Gosh, there was something else I was going to say about this too that I can't think about now.
Does it have challenges like Transform did, where there would be like, oh, here's like because I remember how like getting a grasp of like the drifting mechanics of that game in particular was like one where you basically had to drift the entire race in order to like get the whatever the like mission complete for that one. But like there's also a really good way to learn the mechanics of the game.
Yes, there is some of that here, and I get that feeling even doing some of that time trial that I've mentioned is like, if I want, like, I'm getting B rank on pretty much everything. I'm like, I see. If I want A rank, I'm probably going to have to be, like you say, drifting pretty much like the majority of the time, finding those spots of hitting the 3. And of course, there's all kinds of like hidden pathways. And like if you're playing the Grand Prix mode, there's these like red star coins that you can get as you're going through. Like, and if you get all of those, that unlocks other things, which is fun and kind of like a meta context that's not just specific like to that race and your benefit there, but in general, more like unlocking things in the whole game. So like I'm pretty into it. There's like these rivals that it shows you too in like Grand Prix, where it's not just beat all of these 12 characters you're racing, but like particularly Knuckles is like, you know, wanting to like beat your ass, and he wants to like, you know, race better than you and get out ahead. Like, make sure in the 4 races that you have against Knuckles, your rival, that you are like getting a higher spot than him. And that again unlocks more like tickets that let you unlock other gears or, you know, kart parts or whatever it might be. So there's layers to this that I think are quite interesting, and I feel like I'm just scratching the surface on it with limited play time. So
nice,
it's good.
Yeah. Did you get any multiplayer time in with it, or just strictly solo?
Yeah, Tina and I did the Grand Prix stuff together, which, you know, in that one it's not necessarily team, you know, centric, but we did it that way, and that was cool. And then we did a couple of custom team games that way too, where like Mario Kart, you could choose the number of teams and split up amongst that way, and you could customize down to items and all the fun stuff you can, and random tracks or whatever, just like Mario Kart. And that worked just great too. There's this like weird team linking mechanic where you can bounce off each other, kind of like you can in the zero gravity Mario Kart sort of stuff too.
Yeah.
I haven't quite gotten my head around how that works, but that's a thing too in the team context. So yeah, there's all kinds of layers to this onion. So we'll see. Yeah.
I'm going to have to scoop this one up at some point, because it definitely sounds fun, and I'm curious to see, especially having missed the last one.
It's good.
I'm curious to see how the series has evolved over time.
Just early impressions. I'd already recommend it as, you know, if you're any kind of a fan of these sort of kart racers.
Yeah, and I remember, I don't know if they're doing it here too, but like Transformed, like every track was like, oh, here's a Panzer Dragoon course, and here's like every track was kind of themed on a different Sega game. I don't know if they're doing that here, but I
haven't seen that yet, but I've only probably played like, I don't even know, 8-10 tracks out of a heck of a lot more than that. I guess one final thing I'll add too is you can choose a lot of times, at least in the Grand Prix, when you're racing, you can kind of see what the first lap track is going to be, but then it kind of, there's a fork in the road, and if you're the player in first, you know, in the race, you can kind of choose left or right. Left might be the default, here's what the second lap is going to be for that track, or right is random, and then it will like plop you into a whole different environment, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay.
So they got some really interesting ideas, and again, like it's whoever's in first at that moment has that right of choice, you know, for everybody else in that race, which is kind of a cool concept. Yeah. And no blue shells, best I can tell, so it's kind of interesting too.
Nice. Heck yeah. Well, yeah, I'm excited to hear some more about that one, and possibly even chime in on that if I end up scooping it up. So
Yeah.
But yeah, why don't we kick it over to you, John? I feel like you got I feel like you got a lot to say about about this one here.
I've got
based on the lead up.
A little bit of context too beforehand, where I wasn't expecting to be playing a theme of a couple games, but I have been playing apparently some space capitalism games, and it kind of started
as
with
you do
Deep Rock Galactic, where I was trying to play more like first person shooter adjacent games and like see what a lot of different ones are doing. And I liked the idea of Deep Rock Galactic, where it's a like co-op shooter, and like I typically like co-op games more than competitive, especially in some of that action space. But that one, you are a group of up to 4 dwarves who are mining asteroids, and you're getting launched with this giant drill into these like very like deep rock galactic as it is. Like there you are putting flares everywhere because you're underground and you can't see, and then there's tons of waves of enemies that are coming again after you as you're like mining precious ore and minerals in various game modes and in various environments. And like that was fun. I was having a good time with that, but it was very much here's the kind of like the battle pass, but like not in a surprisingly unpredatory way compared to basically every other game that does the exact same thing. And it's really just for cosmetics and like fun. Like you're still doing the typical progression of like just playing the regular game, and then you're buying new mustaches and new beards for your dwarf. Sure.
Naturally.
So like awesome. I was having just a good time generating profit for the corporation that and it's a very goofy and like fun setting for all of that. And for whatever reason I started playing Hyperspace Shipbreaker, which I had to pause. It was like, that is how the title of the game. But Hyperspace Shipbreaker by Blackbird Interactive is another space capitalism game, but this one is decidedly different tone, even though it still does have kind of more in, I would say, the like Portal or Half-Life brand of humor, in terms of like, here's a dystopian corporation that has way too much power and way too much science behind them. And this one in particular is, the setting of it is you are a shipbreaker because we have colonized planets and we have kind of run out of resources. So we need to do our best to harvest all the detritus and broken ships so that we can keep getting more resources to run a logistics company that, as the little loading screen tips and tricks tell you, is founded by someone who had a diamond mine empire in the like. So it's all of this like old wealth, like not subtle. Lynx is the corporation and very obviously like a stand-in for any sort of logistics company creating endless horrors and workplace abuses. And they have gotten you into a like clone program where death is just a step. And every time that you die during this incredibly dangerous like space harvesting of ships, you are reborn as a new one, and there are some fees associated with the cost of creating a new clone. So you start off with $1.2 or so billion of debt, and every day there are rental fees for your equipment, your tools, which degrade over time, and you need to pay for that. Like, so every single day you incur at least, I think, $500,000 of debt. Like, and you need to be harvesting more than that to come out ahead, even though, is it possible to come out ahead in this? Is that kind of the point of the game? everything about it is hitting every single button for me. Like the gameplay itself, like the setting aside, the gameplay is very much akin to in Outer Wilds, how you would have the non-space flight, but just the outside of your ship, but in zero gravity, kind of moving around in infinite 3D space. And you have your thrusters, which can rotate you along one axis. You have A and B, which will move you up and down on another axis. And these axes are constantly rotating in three-dimensional space. So you're constantly maneuvering yourself around this spaceship and then using your cutter to either cut through metal or break like specific break points. And every ship is modular, so it's kind of a roguelike element of every single ship layout is different, and there are different harvestable parts in every ship. It is so well designed in every respect. And they're constantly, at this point in the game, I'm still pretty early on based on the progression tree in the employee manual in my Hyperspace, which I also rent out from the company and am slowly adorning with posters that I find in these ships so that I'm not just living in a gray box. And it's every single aspect of this game is just so rewarding. But what was the point I was trying to make about it being early? Oh, the fact that the ships themselves are now getting more complicated, and I have to depressurize certain cabins, otherwise they'll explode when I cut into them. Oh. There are fuel lines I have to watch out for and disconnect on a certain aspect, but I can't disconnect certain things because if I do it in the wrong order, then something might explode around me. And then they all now at this point are complex enough that they have nuclear reactors, which are the main power source for them. So the second that I disconnect that, I'm on a timer before it explodes. No. So you have to create kind of a path into and out of the ship in order to safely extricate that and put it in. And it has kind of almost Rocket League-esque goals in physics in terms of all right, you have these materials are salvaged wholesale, and these materials are salvaged for their parts, and these ones are put into the furnace, and you have to launch them across this giant amount of space, and there's a lot of physics and trying to angle shots and using a grapple, but I could just talk about this game for hours. Every single aspect of it, I think, is incredible.
It's definitely amazing. A pretty good looking game.
I'm so interested in this. Do you have to do you get food? Can you salvage food? Do you have to pay for your sludge?
So they don't.
Do you need food?
Mercifully, I don't know if I haven't read the actual fees list because there's just so many of them every single day. But I'm pretty sure your slurry that you get at your Hyperspace is free. It may be baked into the daily rental fees.
Sure. Yeah.
But yes, there was a conversation I did have with my superior and my one coworker, which is secretly trying to organize a union.
Nice.
And
they're gonna die soon. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, buddy. Yeah. I don't have a lot of good feelings about how that story's gonna end. But yeah, you do come across stuff like oxygen tanks, which you do have to buy, or fuel tanks, which you have to buy, or med packs, which you have to buy.
Oh my God.
But you can find them in the ship, and it's against regulations to take them. But also, as far as I know, nobody's watching me when I'm doing that. But yeah, every food item that you have is labeled as furnace, so that I don't think they're able to be eaten as easily, or maybe have been sitting there for many years or decades.
Fair. Totally fair.
Yeah. I didn't expect it to be such a realistic looking game, and something about the way the ships or the space stations or whatever are interconnected, just looking at the pictures on Steam or whatever. But it kind of reminds me a little bit of Void Bastards, a little bit. Something about like the way you'd like string together the ship and then, I don't know, obviously a totally different set of tasks that you're trying to accomplish. But
yeah, it's got a really great art style and like
it does.
It looks nice.
It did feel very similar to Deep Rock Galactic in that sense, where it has sort of that like early Portal, like kind of is like, all right, well, we have a pretty simple like texture or whatever, but it also has like all baked into it, like the background, like here's all the warning labels, and it makes it definitely feel like a lived in space or like at least a deliberately designed spaceship.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. I'm going to be playing this forever. It's so good.
I can tell.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely hear the excitement in your voice.
Perfectly up
is
John's
cool. Yeah, definitely sounds like a John game, and kind of doesn't sound like a me game, but it also just sounds. It's a game that I would like to watch John play.
Yeah,
you know,
Every time something goes wrong, I was and you're just trying to figure out what disaster you caused and how you caused it. But in the meantime, you're also like, I'm on fire. Why is everything on fire? I don't understand.
Yeah.
The company's going to be so mad at me for catching the equipment on fire.
Oh, it docks you for pay for when you either put something in the wrong salvage thing. Like, yep.
I got third-degree burns, but I'm really worried about the company's bottom line today. It's going to be problematic.
The inspirational quotes they give you at the beginning of the day do kind of make you question how good the quality of the genetic retention is between clones.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Fun times.
Yikes.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Love to play things that are just slightly more dystopian than the present.
Yeah. Increasingly so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I guess we may get an update on that one down the road based on how it sounds like you'll be playing that. Yeah. On and off here. But to just rattle off some of the stuff that I've been playing here before we wrap things up. This will be another kind of like, I've done this a few times here and there. I'm almost like save it for the cast style conversations, because like I said, I've been super busy lately with like the couple of weddings I've had 2 weekends in a row, and just in general, just with the weddings and stuff, like in turn, like the weeks leading up to the travel and everything, like I've had to get the podcast editing done and this and that, so I just haven't had as much time to like, with my free time, do anything other than just try to make sure I'm ready to go to this wedding and whatnot. So ever since getting back, I think I mentioned at the top too, I've been mentioned a few weeks back when UFO 50 came to Switch, I've been firing that up here and there. And I was actually planning on talking about some of those games, because I've been, just planning on making a few more videos for some of those that I haven't gotten around to just yet. But for whatever reason, I was like, you know what, I'm going to check and see if they've added anything new to the, various retro stuff that they have on Nintendo Switch via the online, regular online, and then the online expansion pass. And I decided I think I fired up the Genesis first, and nothing was really speaking my language at the moment. Nothing in particular, but I was just like, I just played through Gunstar Heroes not too long ago.
Sure.
I was like, I'm looking for a different kind of flavor here. So I decided to fire up the NES stuff, because I really don't go to those too often. I usually go to Super Nintendo, or I definitely kind of thrive in that 16-bit era.
Right.
But the first game I'll just give a quick shout out to, because I know I talked about it just real briefly, is Shadow of the Ninja, because I know we've talked about Shadow of the Ninja Reborn on the podcast. And I think when I first talked about that, I briefly mentioned checking this out because they had added it to the Nintendo Switch Online at that point. And I played like just a tiny bit of it, and then, was making some light comparisons between the two games. But now, having played, and to be fair, I haven't played a ton of Reborn either. That game is just super hard, but it's basically like a full-blown, like almost 32-bit reimagining of what was originally an 8-bit NES game.
Right.
And I remember at the time, like playing like the, just opening little bit, like I said, and then going to the new Shadow of the Ninja Reborn and thinking like, oh man, they like, it's like got the same mechanics kinda, but I was like, they pretty much made like a whole full-blown new game. New level layouts and stuff. But now going back to it after having played some of those levels a handful of times, and like now going back and replaying, I just played like the first like 2.5 levels. I don't even know if I technically beat. No, I made it to stage 2. And I was like, oh, there's actually a lot of the same elements where it's like they are extending some of these sections in Reborn and making the levels like giving it a little more, just there's a little more to it than what's there in the NES versions of the levels, but like it is pretty similar. Like you're starting out in like the same kind of area, and then you go through like a hallway or a tunnel or whatever it is, and it was just like more things than I was realizing initially. I was like, oh man, this is basically a new game with just some of the same mechanics, and I was like, oh no, this is I can see that this is kind of a remake, but fully reimagined.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But pretty cool to go back and revisit. It's a really cool, Ninja Gaiden-esque platformer, but with a little bit more expressive movement, I guess, than you get from a Ninja Gaiden, because you can like hang off of different
NES.
Yeah. It just feels real smooth and fluid, all the different things you can do by like, just grabbing onto a platform and then pressing up and doing a little like somersault to kick yourself up above it. And just real slick. So that one's from Natsume, and then I happen to just fire up, sitting right next to it, in alphabetical order at least, on the Switch Online or the NES stuff online, is S.C.A.T, S-C-A-T, which stands for Special Cybernetic Attack Team. And this is a game that if you look at the box art,
isn't it?
It is just terrible. Yeah, Natsume as well, yeah. The box art is just terrible. It's like these kind of like these two like wannabe Rambo looking guys and like this real shitty looking like robo suit. And it's just like whenever you see a real person, like an actual picture of a real person, it might be a painting. I can't even picture it right now, but it looks very photorealistic.
Yeah.
And there's just something about it. You're just like, this looks like a terrible video game.
Is
There's
that the
something
original
about it.
Box art, or was there different Japanese box art? Because this was the era of NES adaptation box art that looks
like
terrible.
Well, there's almost always a different Japanese box art. Yeah.
That's a good question.
But yeah, the box art here, nonetheless, like it catches your eye specifically for just looking terrible. But nonetheless, it's actually a really fun game. It's like side-scrolling shoot 'em up that kind of mixes it up. You're not just scrolling left to right. Like you'll get to a different point in the level, like at the edge of a building, and then you start scrolling up or down, like the side of the building. So it's like you're always facing, horizontally, but you might change the like auto scroll direction. At least on like the first stage or two that I played. I think I made it just to the second stage on this one as well.
It's like Forgotten Worlds, right? Where you're kind of flying in the air and you can kind of change the direction you're shooting kind of deal, isn't it?
Yeah. You can fire forwards or backwards, and then you have these two little like bot turret things that are constantly like cycling around you, just like back and forth like a pendulum. And then you can press a button at any time to stop them. So you can like say, okay, they're right behind me, so I'm going to have it, I'm going to stop them so that they're firing right behind me, or I'm going to stop it so that they're at like 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock firing directly up and down. So you can kind of like time that, based on like where the enemies are at, or like, I'm going through like more of a hallway section here, and there's enemies on the ceiling and on the floors. So let me get those, pointing up and down so that I can just focus on the enemies that are coming in from the sides of the screen.
Yeah.
And there's a few different power-ups, different weapons, like a laser, a spread shot. It seemed like there might have been some kind of power up for those like bots as well. I couldn't really tell. It sounded like I picked something up and it made a sound effect, and I didn't notice my weapon changing. So I was like, it's got to be something with those little turret bots or whatever. But just like another, like, you don't see a lot of shoot 'em ups where you play as like an actual like human being character, or maybe I guess there's some kind of cybernetic robot thing. But like, you just don't see too many games where you're just playing as like a humanoid figure where you're just scrolling along, and you don't seem to have any kind of jetpack on or anything, but you're just able to fly at will. So it's kind of a weird game, but at the same time, it's really fun. And one thing I'll say about all three of these games that I'm going to mention is I feel like the difficulty is like pretty reasonable. It seemed like Shadow the Ninja has like 5 continues. Obviously on the NES, like Switch Online, I can do save states and stuff like that, so that even makes it even easier. And then same thing with S.C.A.T. It seems like you just get unlimited continues. Like once I beat the first stage, it just seems like I get a game over when I die, but then if I click continue, I'm just going to start on that second stage, so I can at least just keep chipping away, making progress. And then the
Yeah.
last game that I want to
big
mention
deal.
that has that same feature where you can just keep endlessly continuing as many times as you want is Vice Project Doom. This game is just awesome. I played a little bit of this one. It was one of the games that I think they added to the like selection of games on the Switch Online pretty early on. And I remember thinking, like, what the heck is this game? Like, never heard of this. Why are they adding this when there's all these other classics, that they still to this day haven't gotten around to, well over 5 years later. But at the time, I'm thinking, like, man, they don't have hardly anything on here, and they're adding Vice Project Doom. What the heck is this game? And I booted it up probably for a quick second. And it starts off the very first stage. You're like in a car, but it's like a vertically scrolling shoot 'em up. And you're able to like switch between first, second, and third gear to kind of change your speed. And it's just kind of like after getting into the game, it really kind of acts almost more as like a set piece to just kind of get you into the action. And then after that, you're right into like kind of like a pretty traditional, another very like Ninja Gaiden inspired platformer where you have like 3 different weapons you can pick from by pressing select. You can cycle through them. You start off with like your just little like, you don't have to like collect them or anything, but you do have to get ammo. Other than for like your regular, like, I don't know if it's like a bow or some kind of staff or sword or something that you can swing with like a little bit of like it's got a cool arc to it too, because you kind of like swing it over your head. So you can sometimes hit an enemy that's like coming in from behind you a little bit, or from above you with this like big like arcing swing you do. And then you can also switch over to like your pistol. And then you also have like a grenade or some kind of bomb that you can pick up like quite a bit of ammo. And one thing that's actually really cool is as you play through the game, like certain enemies, if you kill them, they'll either drop ammo or health or grenades or bullets or whatever it might be. And the same enemies will always drop the same drop, best I can tell. Like if I kill this enemy, they're always going to drop like the big health pickup. If I kill this enemy, it's always going to be the bullet, a little more ammo for my gun. And you start off with only like 20, but you can like rack up to where it's like, oh man, I got 75 shots. I can just like, it feels like I have unlimited ammo. I know I don't, but and then at a certain point, like I got to another stage that turns into like a gallery shooter, like first person perspective, and then you're able to use either one button. Again, it's NES, so either A or B, I forget which one's which, but one of them does like your regular bullets, and then one of them throws the grenades, and it's actually using your ammo that you collected from the regular stage. And I did a little reading online. I think there's only 2 stages with like the car racing shoot 'em up, and then 2 stages with like the gallery shooter, and then everything else is just more traditional, the hack and slash run and gun style platformer. But I gotta say, this is like easily one of my favorite NES games. I got to level 7,
Nice.
Which I was actually making like some great progress, and up until right towards the last little section, I kept getting stuck on this one part and almost clearing the level, and I was finally like, okay, I'm just going to use the rewind feature because I don't want to have to like keep replaying this from the beginning of the level. Like, I know I can do it. I'm just going to like get to the part where I'm at the boss, and I just try to beat this boss with the proper amount of health.
Keep your sanity, yes.
Yeah, like I want to see the game, and like, sure, I can sit here and play it 25 more times until I do it just perfect and get it right. But it's like, I already did it once. I made it through a few times. I know it's not that I'm incapable of doing it. It's like, I just don't have the patience to sit here and wait to do it, just right that one time. Because then it's like the one time I might do it just perfectly right might be the one time that I have no lives left, you know what I mean? Right. Or no health left. And then I have to clear the next section. And it's like, well, okay, let me just save, do a checkpoint here right where I have full lives, and then, or all my, lives, I guess.
Yeah.
But, it's just a really fun game. I really like the being able to cycle between the 3 weapons, and it just keeps you on your toes. And it's got those great like Ninja Gaiden-esque cutscenes where like it kind of, you beat a stage and then your character like right before it went into the shooting gallery stage, I can't remember what he said, but it just went to this cutscene. It's like, all right, now it's time for action or something like that. But it just like the way it's like flowing, it just feels like you're playing like an 80s action movie.
Oh yeah.
And it's awesome.
It's
truly like a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it said 91 when I booted it up on the title screen. So you can definitely tell, but it feels like a kind of like a Castlevania, Ninja Gaiden, but just like with a little more a game that I honestly like looking at the cover again. I expected it to have a lack of personality. It almost just sounds like they pick like a grab like Vice Project Doom. It just sounds like, oh yeah, this sounds like
it looks very much like
Mel
Gibson on the cover.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a edgy video game or something. Like I don't know. It just like they're clearly like trying to go for a hook or something.
That's what marketing was in those days, yeah.
Right, and I was worried that that's all it was going to be, was like some piece of crap that just had a catchy name that, you know, some kid was going to find on the shelf and beg their parents for, you know, at Toys R Us or whatever. And I was like, oh, there's actually a good game here. It's really, really good. I like it a lot. I mean, I don't want to oversell it and say it's like one of the best NES games, but you know, it's in that like top 25, top 50 conversation.
It's a really good game. It's really ambitious, like you said, with the 3 different genres it's blending. And there's like a handful of games that did this sort of thing, especially in that era. I was just like, yeah, we're just going to develop a few different gameplay styles and just intersperse those like levels in this. Like, okay, like that's a cool thing. And you kind of inspired me to like go grab my cartridge, because I grabbed this during like my collecting heyday, because you know the message boards of the time, there was some folks that were buzzing about this, you know, as like a little bit of under the radar sort of game that had a lot of appeal still. And yeah, it's very good. I think Vice Project Doom is a pretty awesome game from what I remember years and years ago playing.
Nice.
Yeah, I totally missed this one back then, and even in like the collecting era, I never saw it come up anywhere, or if I did, I just glanced right over it thinking like, oh, this just sounds like a dumb action game that isn't going to be for me. And it's most definitely not. It's awesome stuff. And it's one that honestly, like talking about the Shadow of the Ninja remake, like, man, would I love to see a reimagining of this game.
Yeah.
That would be so cool.
Absolutely. There's a handful of those. Love to see a reimagining of Shatterhand. There's some under the radar NES games that are quite good. Yeah.
Yeah. Just take away a little bit of that jank, give it some, you know, 16-bit, 32-bit hybrid pixel art.
Yeah.
Good stuff. But yeah, I was happy to boot up some stuff on the NES, and also happy that I finally kind of am letting loose a little bit on like using the rewind feature. And,
yeah.
I've always used save states and stuff like that, but I've always kind of like been strict about like, I'm only going to use it after I like beat a level proper, like with no cheating. And then like, okay. And now I'm like I'm cheesing it, but I'm just basically saving myself the time of replaying it a million times. But now I'm like, okay, I got like, this feels like a checkpoint that I'm just going to turn into a checkpoint by rewinding to there before I took that damage like an idiot or whatever.
It's the correct decision.
Yeah.
We have limited.
It just
time
makes the retro
stuff. Yeah, you only got so much time
it makes the retro stuff.
Vice Project Doom.
Yes.
Yeah, and it makes the retro stuff so much more fun. And knowing that like the difficulty, it's not like they made those games hard because they wanted to make them that hard. Like in some degrees, sure, but like they were made hard to like make people buy them so that they wouldn't just rent them and not buy them ever again after they beat it. So like,
right,
it is like. Yeah, like I do like playing a tough video game that presents me with a fair challenge, but I don't want it to be just brutally like I'm not compelled to play Silver Surfer just because it's supposed to be like one of the most unfairly difficult games ever. Where like DJ is somebody who's going to hear that and go, challenge accepted. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, okay, how could I'm just never going to play it.
That'll never be me. No, same deal. That's save that for a YouTube watch. That's the extent of that.
Just to laugh at like how hard it is, and that's all I want to see is like play it for 5 seconds and be like, yep, this is absurd.
Yes,
and I had my fun just laughing at how ridiculously hard games used to be. That's it.
Yes, sometimes broken. So yeah, like you said, just to keep kids from saying that they beat it through a rental instead of buying it was the major driving factor for the U.S. market.
Yeah,
and that messed up the difficulty on a lot of games.
Yeah, such a shame.
Yeah,
but also understandable. So yeah, I kind of get both.
Thankfully,
sides,
they eased off that by at least the mid 16-bit era, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't know. Anything else we want to talk about before we wrap things up for the evening here, guys?
No, sir.
Nada.
Nice. Nice. Well, yeah, as always, you can find us on the internet at pursuingpixels.com and pretty much everywhere else. Just look up Pursuing Pixels and you'll probably find us there somewhere. And yeah, until next week, we will catch you then and take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I had forgotten about Sonic Superstars. I have finally caught up on the original Let's Play 20 Years of Sonic from Run button, and I'm back now into their current redoing Let's Play 20 Years of Sonic all over again.
Have their opinions evolved on Sonic the Hedgehog video games?
Their opinions evolved in the course of doing the original series, so it is a non-stop, like, moving target. It's great.
That makes sense.
But I had forgotten about Sonic Superstars, which was another post-Mania game where they just absolutely refused to let the developers who made one of the most successful Sonic games, critically acclaimed Sonic games, and they're like, never again. We don't want to make another good one.
That was super successful that everybody liked.
Yup.
But that showed us up. God damn it. We hate that.
Yeah.
So
Christian Whitehead, you son of a bitch.